Hi, this is Jessica DeMassa. I'm here in the Guidewell Insights Lounge at Exponential Medicine. I'm here with Leerom Segal. He's the CEO of Click Health. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So tell me a little bit about abundance and the idea of abundance and how companies can innovate towards abundance.
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is an abundance of opportunities. Just here at Exponential Medicine, we've heard from dozens of AI vendors, robotics vendors, security vendors, each one really nibbling at the edges of some of the commanding heights of every industry, but especially in healthcare. I think that there's been a tremendous amount of progress made over the last few years. And the opportunity that unlocks in organizations today is really to apply some of these technologies in order to solve new and novel use cases based on the insights that they have.
Yes.
So from an execution point of view, the creative application of data and technology can get us to start questioning some of the very fundamental things that we think about as dogma in management. Can a process be dynamic? Can it be different the first time or the 100th time that we do something?
Okay.
How we communicate, is email really the most effective way to do that, or is it a great way to let other people reprioritize their day for us? What about how we run meetings? So there is a lot of those opportunities, but I would say that's table stakes.
Okay.
The bigger opportunity is really for organizations to embrace a culture that is much more obsessed with evolving and getting those evolutionary advantages in place. And by that I mean a culture of innovation that requires a leader that's galvanizing the organization towards a purposeful mission, attracting the type of talent that we're seeing here at Exponential Medicine into life sciences companies, biotech payers, and then combining that with inspiration from the practices that have made Google and Uber and Facebook and all these organizations so successful, the agility, the hackathons that they do, the various ways that they really teach their people how to think about the crowd and on-demand and all these exponential technologies.
So how do organizations, especially the big organizations that are anchoring the healthcare system, how do they do this? How do they create a culture of innovation? How do they implement some of these ideas?
So I think some have been successful. I point to some of the work that John Madison is doing at Kaiser. The theme that I would say we're seeing is that the organizations that are afraid of this tend to assume that they need to build this on the outside. I can't innovate inside because my organizational antibodies are going to attack this new thing. Well, that's a dangerous mindset, in my opinion, because that's a mindset that leads to transformation. You're not reacting to all these changes, and then one day you have this discrete project. It's like, we need to change, but often it's too late. So I would say transformation is not a project, it's a fail state. It means you got a whole bunch of other things wrong up front. And the organizations that are trying to adapt more are building cultures of experimentations. That requires changes in metrics. That often requires some centralized body that's helping to orchestrate and cross-pollinate these ideas, whether it's training people on agile practices or design thinking, just taking inspiration from other industries and seeing what's working. But it's not, you know what, we're going to do that quintessential pilgrimage. We'll take our executives to Silicon Valley. We'll show you how the cool kids are doing it.
We'll tour them around Google, and then that's it.
And now they'll be terrified, and nothing will change. So our belief is that this is, it's not as sexy, but you need to expose the maximum number of people in the organization to this kind of thinking. You need them to see these examples, and then you need them to understand how platforms like Uber came to be what it is today, because Uber actually bundled a whole bunch of these unbundled solutions that we're seeing here at Exponential Medicine. And if one understands that the unbundling doesn't just create competition in the silos, it creates new opportunities for business models, then truly disruptive opportunities can be developed by our industry. And that disruption includes things like 3D pill printing. Are we going to have a Napster moment as an industry? Are we going to try to fight it with regulations? 3D printed pill was approved the first time last year by the FDA. It's an exponential technology. How long before we each have one at home?
Right.
Are we going to try to block it? It didn't change how we consume media. It just shut down Napster. And we've heard of the Kodak example a million times. Are you in the film development business, or are you in the capturing magical moments business? I think if we see ourselves as being in the business of extending and improving human life, then we really have to think about value beyond the pill, and that could be subscription models, that could be so many other things, but the organizations need to be open to it.
Now, I keep hearing it in the lounge here. A lot of people are saying that true disruption for the healthcare industry is going to come from outside, but you're giving us a pathway to kind of bring the disruption up from within. So what do you think?
I think it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. So history is on the side of the attackers. And so the more defensive an organization is, the more likely it is that it's going to be disrupted from the outside. But I have advice for leaders in our industry today.
Go for it.
Don't worry about your competition. Worry about your competitiveness, because we as an industry have large multinational organizations with tens of thousands of people that are spread all around the world. Because of this abundance, because of the number of startups, there is no way that one individual could track everything that's happening in the marketplace. But if you take 30,000, 40,000 people and you train them on all these principles,
sure,
then each one of them is a sensor, and they can find opportunities at a very, very early stage before they become disruptive. And then you've got a culture that's able to respond and react to those opportunities. And that requires a lot of investment now, that requires a lot of experimentation, and that requires a willingness to take a few swing and a misses and say, well, we learned something. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Leerom, that is excellent advice. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Guidewell Insights Lounge. We hope that we have a culture of risk takers out there who are willing to take those swings. Thank you so much for joining us again. I'm Jessica DeMassa in the Guidewell Insights Lounge at Singularity University's Exponential Medicine. Thank you.